So let's talk about the future. And 4 big questions that I believe we as a country have to answer, regardless of who the next president is or who controls the next Congress. First, how do we give everyone a fair shot at opportunity and security in this new economy? Second, how do we make technology work for us and not against us, especially when it comes to solving urgent challenges like climate change? Third, how do we keep America safe and lead the world without becoming its policeman? And finally, how can we make our politics reflect what's best in us and not what's worst?
For every American with more guts than glory, let's memorialize the moment to mention the motivations for the next life story. From guts to glory, let's find a reason for this election season and for finishing strong with the American story. Tonight, we're recognizing and recording questions like, how do we cover the economic spread to secure our state sane and share an opportunity that allows the deserving to bypass the mean? How do we use technological advancements like cloud computing and the World Wide Web's range to help us coordinate a collective change to deal with climate change? How do we protect our people while preserving our nation's practices to demonstrate leadership and not dictatorship? And how can we reflect a reminiscent review of how and why the U.S. became the world's stormtroopers, despite historical bloopers?
Let me start with the economy and a basic fact. The United States of America, right now, has the strongest, most durable economy in the world. We're in the middle of the longest streak of private sector job creation in history. More than 14 million new jobs, the strongest 2 years of job growth since the 1990s, an unemployment rate cut in half. Our auto industry just had its best year ever. That's just part of a manufacturing surge that's created nearly 900,000 new jobs in the past 6 years. And we've done all this while cutting our deficits by almost 3/4. Anyone claiming that America's economy is in decline is peddling fiction.
Inquiring minds really want to know, how did we pull the economy up farther and better than a truck pulls a tow? So, let me start off by saying that America's glory has and will continue to be based upon an American success story. Fact, not fiction. Our economy is like a muscle with an enduring memory and with the proven ability to generate the longest job growth in history. Fact, not fiction. Our economy can frame 14 million jobs as a claim to fame and is proof that American actions speak louder than words to care, greater than any world's career fair, sort of reminiscent of the Clinton presidency, and somewhat foretelling of a permanent destiny. Fact, not fiction. Our economy has advertised 50% off an unemployment rate to date that still feels ooey-gooey great. Fact, not fiction. Our economy is so souped and revved up that Revlon ran a super sale on its makeup. Fact, not fiction. Our economy is responsible for another big win in the production and distribution of 900,000 reasons to clock in. Fact, not fiction. And, most importantly, our economy has nibbled down our deficit from a full meal to the 3/4 snack that would have given the next generation a heart attack. Fact, not fiction.
Now, what is true, and the reason that a lot of Americans feel anxious, is that the economy has been changing in profound ways. Changes that started long before the Great Recession hit, changes that have not let up. Today, technology doesn't just replace jobs on the assembly line, but any job where work can be automated. Companies in a global economy can locate anywhere, and they face tougher competition. As a result, workers have less leverage for a raise. Companies have less loyalty to their communities. And more wealth and income is concentrated at the very top.
To the disbeliever, why be a doubter when an American was born to become an adequate doer and dreamer? To the hater, why spread the strife that contradicts our rebuilt economic life? Either believe and board the wagon or get out of the way. Okay, either get on board of this train or get drenched from the rainmaker's rain. Okay, our economic facts are unfolding and overtaking any fiction that wants to create more friction. Yeah, the Great Recession came and went and transformed our economy from Superman down to Clark Kent, but we worked hard to repair the dent and earned enough to retain all the change that we spent. Now, we cannot complain, because we now have a rainbow because of all that sunshine, rain, and pain. However, companies in any corporate cohort should declare buyer beware and abort if they attempt to abandon the consumer and worker who's in need of more of their support. In our global economy, we must contend with the corporate want to be great, greedy and grubbish that will do anything to include being sluttish.
Companies have less loyalty to their communities, and more wealth and income is concentrated at the very top. All these trends have squeezed workers, even when they have jobs, even when the economy is growing. It's made it harder for a hard-working family to pull itself out of poverty, harder for young people to start their careers, tougher for workers to retire when they want to. And although none of these trends are unique to America, they do offend our uniquely American belief that everybody who works hard should get a fair shot.
In our global economy, families are fighting for freedom from a debt that has raised the stakes to a decreased odds of winning bet. In our global economy, eager young minds have lost their enthusiasm and opted for a career as a thug that is still in need of society's love. And in our global economy, grannies are dropping their teeth in our grocery bags because their social security benefits are the story behind their richest rags. Ruminate on this. America is filled with births and deaths on a daily basis, and we've yet to fully reward hard-working Americans regardless of their respective races, before they fall down and forever fade away in grave places. Consider this. Most Americans want a start that they can sustain before their life's finished, or their capacities diminished. Will corporate America embrace the American spirit that was once lost and now found, and say that there's still more than enough to go around?
For the past 7 years, our goal has been a growing economy that also works better for everybody. We've made progress, but we need to make more. And despite all the political arguments that we've had these past few years, there are actually some areas where Americans broadly agree. We agree that real opportunity requires every American to get the education and training they need to land a good-paying job. The bipartisan reform of No Child Left Behind was an important start. And together we've increased early childhood education, lifted high school graduation rates to new highs, boosted graduates in fields like engineering. In the coming years, we should build on that progress by providing pre-K for all and offering every student the hands-on computer science and math classes that make them job ready, on day one. We should recruit and support more great teachers for our kids.
For the past 7 years, we've worked hard to dry up tears and comfort the fears of our American peers. For the past 7 years, we've given a great amount of consideration to the young entrepreneur's passion, purpose, and destination, as well as to the retiree who's planning activities for a well-deserved vacation. For the past 7 years, we've researched our progress to attest to the fact that wisdom and knowledge are requirements for a greater occupational privilege. And for the past 7 years, we've discovered the reality that our reforms and constructs are changes that'll promote a child's vitality within the computer and math class where experts in their field should instruct.
And we have to make college affordable for every American. No hardworking student should be stuck in the red. We've already reduced student loan payments to 10% of a borrower's income, and that's good. But now we've actually got to cut the cost of college. Providing 2 years of community college at no cost for every responsible student is one of the best ways to do that. And I'm going to keep fighting to get that started this year. It's the right thing to do.
We've escalated our efforts to expand high school graduation rates from 75% to 82% and thereby increase the likelihood that a college or university is where our students will be sent. Class is in session for the ambitious to someday have a profession. Higher education should be more affordable for the enlightened and incorrigible who seek to accomplish any academic benchmark that their ancestors failed to obtain because they couldn't find it in the dark. Class is in session for the ambitious to someday have a profession. Students shouldn't have to pay to play or be burdened down by a student loan that limits them even after they're fully grown. Class is in session for the ambitious to someday have a profession. Education should be a course resource within every American community where 2 free college years motivates an intellectual discourse. Class is in session for the ambitious to someday have a profession. And education will always have to retain a revolving door policy for the laid off and fired but fired up to never give up and take a knowledgeable big gulp in the classroom or online as they sip from their coffee or teacup. Class is still in session for the ambitious to someday have another profession.
But a great education isn't all we need in this new economy. We also need benefits and protections that provide a basic measure of security. It's not too much of a stretch to say that some of the only people in America who are going to work the same job in the same place with a health and retirement package for 30 years are sitting in this chamber. For everyone else, especially folks in their 40s and 50s, saving for retirement or bouncing back from job loss has gotten a lot tougher. Americans understand that at some point in their careers, in this new economy, they may have to retool, they may have to retrain, but they shouldn't lose what they've already worked so hard to build in the process.
Medicare is whispering and Social Security is still speaking a precautionary tale as a reminder to prevent any future derail. These social welfare components should always remain strong so that we don't ever steer our societies weak and wrong. Building up basic benefits that are always willing and available to them who roam and are at home because our Jacks and Jills continue to carry their careers up hills.
know a lot of you always kid me for always quoting my dad, but my dad used to say, Joey, a job's about a lot more than a paycheck. He really would say this. It's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay, and mean it. And folks, so let's look at the results. We're not finished yet by any stretch of the imagination, but unemployment rate is at 3.4%, a 50-year low. A near record unemployment. Near record unemployment for Black and Hispanic workers.
My pops used to always say that it's going to be all okay today and every day. Because our worth is making more sense, since it has all been connected to more than dollars and cents. We have first place, a real solid space, within the American dream race. Our unemployment was up and now it's so down, that brown and black babies around town have more smiles than a frown.
We've already created, with your help, 800,000 good-paying manufacturing jobs, the fastest growth in 40 years. And where is it written? Where is it written that America can't lead the world in manufacturing? And I don't know where that's written. For too many decades, we imported projects and exported jobs. Now, thanks to what you've all done, we're exporting American products and creating American jobs.
We're on the move and feeling a real good groove. With manufacturing jobs growing up to 800,000 to put away a 40-year fear. Who said that we wouldn't be back, wearing our top of the game hat, and feeling so good like a bag of chips and all that? From decade to decade, we were stalling as our trade value was falling. Now, they're asking around the global markets and around town, who's that Joe and what's that booming economic sound? American products over here, American products over there, America's economy is booming everywhere.
Folks, inflation has been a global problem because the pandemic disrupted our supply chains, and Putin's unfair and brutal war in Ukraine disrupted energy supplies as well as food supplies, blocking all that grain in Ukraine. But we're better positioned than any country on earth right now. But we have more to do. But here at home, inflation is coming down. Here at home, gas prices are down $1.50 from their peak. Food inflation is coming down, not fast enough, but coming down. Inflation has fallen every month for the last 6 months, while take-home pay has gone up. Additionally, over the last 2 years, a record 10 million Americans applied to start new businesses. 10 million.
The supply chain has been caught in a knot, and still hoping kibbles and bits are on the shelf like Johnny on the spot. We're like waiting to exhale and still on the right track to receive that shipment of supplies to take up the slack. We've come far and yet have far to go to bounce back and speed up an economy that's been a little slow. On the home front, petrol prices are scaling back from harms and hints of inflation, downgraded a little more than usual because of our de-escalation. Don't have to worry so much more about all the grub that we have already out of desperation stored in our tub. We have established an inverse salary and inflation relation. No sinking ship, and now we can breathe air a little easier with a big gulp instead of a sip. Small business ownership is building brighter futures and on the rise. 10 million more Americans are using their gifts and talents to earn, not a surprise.
And by the way, every time someone starts a small business is an act of hope. And Madam Vice President, I want to thank you for leading that effort to ensure that small businesses have access to capital and the historic laws we enacted that are going to just come into being. Standing here last year, I shared with you a story of American genius and possibilities. Semiconductors, small computer chips the size of a fingerprint that power everything, from cell phones to automobiles and so much more. These chips were invented in America. Let's get that straight, they were invented in America. We used to make 40% of the world's chips. In the last several decades, we lost our edge. We're down to only producing 10%. We all saw what happened during the pandemic when chip factories shut down overseas. Today's automobiles need 3,000 chips, each of those automobiles. But American automobiles couldn't make enough cars because there weren't enough chips. Car prices went up, people got laid off, so did everything from refrigerators to cell phones. We can never let that happen again. That's why we came together to pass the Bipartisan Chips and Science Act. Folks, I know I've been criticized for saying this, but I'm not changing my view. We're going to make sure the supply chain for America begins in America. The supply chain begins in America.
Stay highly motivated and keep hope alive. Dream big and set high goals to survive. Our VP will source out more capital funding so small businesses can keep revenue running. Americans are genius and full of potential, branded as best with a unique differential. Semiconductors are conducted within the states, now a part of our economic exports without rebates. America's treasure chest used to be better off for dips because of economic treats and computer chips. Over time, there has been more of a production regress, alongside a pandemic digress. There is still a greater need to feed all automobile engines that require that little seed. Supply and demand have wrecked our auto markets as auto prices are on the upswing, as refrigerators are stuck with reminders, chips to bring. We're on it, to prevent it, and again stop it. The Chips and Science Act is no overnight hack, it's a full course meal and not simply a snack. We're pumping a full throttle American supply chain, it will be our umbrella during another economic downfall reign. Subscribe and stay tuned for more episodes from this video series.